lot of talking about getting ready to write for a test. And you know that the first thing you do is you decide whether you're writing a story or not a story. And for the past several lessons, we've really dug into what it means to write not a story by looking at the not a story structure. We've talked about writing an introduction that catches attention and writing a body where all of our evidence comes from the text. We've thought through this routine of stretching body paragraphs using a topic sentence and then a comment or a question or an example like Sam showed us. I have to confess, by the time I do all of that work as a writer, I'm exhausted. My hands ache from writing, my brain burns from all of the thinking, and I'm really ready to just be done. But on a test, we have to do our best. And we're not going to give up when we're so close, because the last part of writing not a story is the conclusion. The other thing that you should know about me as a writer is I really struggle with conclusions. Endings are something that's hard for me. And so when I'm writing on a test, here's my little secret. This is what I do. After I've done all this work of writing an introduction and a body where all my evidence comes from the text, I drop my pencil. I stretch my arms and my fingers and my neck. I take a deep breath and I give my brain a break from drafting. What I do instead is I become a reader. I pick up my pencil and I flip back to the beginning of my writing and I reread it. What happens when I do this is I begin to notice if something doesn't make sense and I fix it right away. I'm also shocked to see the number of times I spell something wrong because I leave out a letter or I miss the ending. So I correct that. Sometimes I forget to put capital letters in, like the word I, and so I capitalize I, or I capitalize other proper nouns in beginnings of sentences. I also check my ending punctuation. I notice if I've went for a long time without using any, and I make sure that I use question marks at the end of the questions that I use to stretch my body paragraphs. After this, I come to the end of my writing, and then I'm ready to write the conclusion. There is one way that I know to write a conclusion that works almost all of the time for me, and so I'd like to share that with you. When I'm looking for an ending, I return to my introduction. I reread my introduction and think about, well, how can I turn that into an ending? How can I go back to that idea? Let's give it a try with the U.S. Mint writing assignment. Here's my introduction. I started with Imagine and wrote a small story about going on a field trip to the U.S. Mint. I ended with the big idea that on a field trip, our class would learn a lot of interesting information. Now I'm ready to write the conclusion. So I'm going to return to the idea in the introduction. Since I was writing about going on a field trip in the introduction, I'm going to do that in the ending. So I write, after the adventure of a field trip to the United States Mint facility, our class would be filled with tons of new knowledge. For my conclusion, I'm really aiming to have about 3 sentences. So I'm thinking back to my introduction and how I wrote the big idea that we would learn lots of interesting information. And so now at the end of my not a story, in this conclusion, I'm going to write, these are just a few of the examples of interesting information we might learn. For my final sentence, I think about the excitement that follows a field trip and decide to end with an exclamatory sentence. It would be a great day of learning. Today during writing workshop, Go ahead and practice these ideas. Reread one of your drafts with a pencil in hand and make changes when you notice them. And then write a conclusion, returning to your introduction for inspiration and including your stance. Happy writing, everyone!